Right. So right now, though, it's just us. So I don't need to go read this whole thing because nobody's here, and you all know about cell phones and the retention bylaw. So all I need is a motion then to proceed with the agenda, moved by Councillor Orsatti, seconded by Councillor Payne. That's carried. Is there disclosures of pecuniary interest from anyone? Seeing none. A motion to go in closed session, moved by Councillor Fowler and seconded by Councillor Ices. And it's for one item. So that's it. All in favor? That's carried. And let's go. Thank you, Council. So we'll reconvene our special council meeting just to do our rise and report. A recommendation that Council now rise and report at 7:03 p.m. Moved by Councillor Icey, seconded by Councillor Arsadi. All those in favor? That's carried. And item 4.3, the recommendation that the confidential direction be confirmed. Councillor Nicol, Councillor Icey, all those in favor? That's carried. And do we need to adjourn the special? Oh, no, we just move right into the Madam Deputy Clerk. Madam Deputy Clerk, just clarification. Do we move right into this now without adjourning that because this is part of the special council meeting? Okay, great. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. So glad to see you here tonight. Happy spring. It has been spring for almost a little over an hour now, so welcome spring. So any of you who have a electronic device of any kind, if you could set it on vibrate or silent so the meeting wouldn't be interrupted, that would be very much appreciated. And I just want to let you all know that this meeting tonight will be audio and video recorded. So hello to all of you people at home on the couch watching us, and welcome. Thank you for being here. And it will be recorded and kept. The clerks will have a record of it. And if you want to know more about our bylaw of retention bylaw, you can contact the clerk's office and they will let you know what that is. Now, I'm going to go through a preamble here for the public meeting. If it sounds like I'm reading from a script, I am. So the Planning Act is quite prescriptive about how all planning meetings have to run in the province of Ontario. So it's sounds a little formal, but please bear with us as we go through the process. For the planning public meeting, anyone may come to the podium and they will have 5 minutes to express their questions and/or concerns. Then staff will respond where possible. Should anyone need to speak for a second time to identify an issue that was not already been raised or receive clarification, they may be allowed 5 minutes at the podium. And I think we can relax a little on the 5-minute rule tonight. It's not like we have a swarm of people, so we'll be a little lenient on the time. The planning public meeting on tonight's special agenda is concerning a proposed amendment to the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw under Section 34 of the Planning Act. The land affected is municipally known as San Diego 2 Phase 2A and 2B in the town of Innisfil. We will now hear from the clerk on how the public notice of this meeting was provided.
Thank you, Your Worship. Notice of this public meeting was posted on the property and circulated on February 28, 2019 to all agencies and landowners within 120 meters of the area affected. The notice was also posted on the town's website on March 6, 2019, and notice was also circulated to all those with offers of purchase and sale for new homes within 120 meters of the San Diego 2 subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Has any correspondence been received by the Clerk's Department concerning the proposed amendments?
None received.
Thank you. We will now hear from Mr. Stephen Montgomery, Senior Planner with the Town of Innisfil, who will provide a summary of the planning context of the application. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Montgomery.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council, staff, and the public. The purpose of this public meeting is to consider a zoning bylaw amendment application for the subject lands, which are 26 single detached lots in the San Diego 2 Phase 2A and 2B subdivision, which have frontage on Rosardo Crescent and Ralston Loop in the settlement area of Elkona. These applications have been submitted to request exceptions to the garage projection provisions of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw, which is number 8013. These are the subject lands shown outlined in red. They're located east of Webster Boulevard and south of the 7th line, north of the Sleeping Lion subdivision to the south, and they're entirely within the San Diego 2 Phase 2A and 2B registered plans of subdivision. The 25 lots on Rosardo Crescent are within Phase 2B, and the one lot on Ralston Loop is within Phase 2A, which is right there. There is an existing public school and public park to the north, and most of the dwellings in this neighborhood are nearing completion in this area. This application is proposing to grandfather the remaining unbuilt lots within San Diego 2 Phase 2 to permit garage projections similar to what's already existing. The lands to the west of Webster Boulevard over here are San Diego 2 Phase 3, which is a future phase that is draft approved but not registered yet at this time. So with respect to the application background, zoning bylaw number 8013, which is the town comprehensive zoning bylaw, it was approved in 2013 with the intent of restricting garage projections beyond the main front wall of a dwelling to improve the streetscape and to avoid streetscape domination by garages. This was in accordance with the town's official plan policies. Some developers requested they be grandfathered as their subdivisions contain streets that were partially completed already, such as Pratt-Alcona North, Alcona South, Prevencourt, Phase 1, Woodland Park, Pratt-Alcona East. The first phase of this development, which is San Diego 2 Phase 1, was also grandfathered from the provisions. However, Phase 2A and 2B were not captured in the grandfathering. The architectural controls for these phases were prepared around the same time the proposed garage projection changes were being implemented in the town's zoning bylaw. So this area is considered by staff to be an area that is in the middle of the transition between the new provisions, not allowing any projection, and the existing modest projections. So staff are accepting of the request by the developer to support grandfathering the remaining lots similar to the lots in the area. The other reason, the reason the other lots I'll point out on Rosardo Crescent and Ralston Loop, which are also in Phase 2A and 2B, were approved is because they met the approved architectural control guidelines of the town, but as an oversight in the zoning review process, the projections were not caught by the building department during their review process. Staff will note that all future phases of the subdivision are, however, required to comply with the garage projection provisions, and the developer has agreed. So the purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment application, again, is to exempt the subject lands from a section of the bylaw, which is section 3.17.1E, to permit garages to project beyond the main front wall of the dwelling for lots not yet built. And again, this is to maintain existing architectural consistency on the same street. All homes are required to meet the existing approved architectural control guidelines for these phases. So in support of this application, the applicant had submitted examples of proposed house sidings for interior and exterior lots, floor plans, photos of existing dwellings that are the same as the proposed models, and the draft zoning amendment. And the applicant will be providing more details on the actual designs. So I won't spend too much time on this, but planning staff are required to review planning policies, which would include the Innisfil strategic plan, the provincial growth plan, and the provincial policy statement, and county and town official plans, as well as the Lake Simcoe protection plan. In the opinion of staff, this is a minor amendment to the zoning bylaw, and it would meet all of these documents. Just to go to the bottom for a second, the town of Innisfil official plan. The lands are designated residential low density 1 on Schedule B1, which permits single attached dwellings as a permitted use. The official plan seeks to minimize garage projections and the dominance of garages in section 10.1.44. However, it also speaks to the importance of maintaining community character and assessing the ability of developments to fit in and reinforce the existing physical character of buildings and streetscapes. So given this is a transition area with existing similar models that are already built, the developer has agreed to meet the zoning garage projection requirements for all future phases of the subdivision. Staff are of the opinion this application would conform to the town official plan. Also, which will be mentioned later by the applicant's planner, the garage projections proposed are relatively minor and consistent with existing homes. This is an existing zoning map showing the subject lands, which are again outlined in red. As you can see, they're zoned residential 2 or R2 in yellow. The models meet all the requirements of the R2 zone, including lot coverage, height, and setbacks. However, they do not currently meet the general provisions of the bylaw respecting garage projections for lots less than 20 meters. This is the general provision of 3.17.1E, which states that for lots that are less than 20 meters frontage, garages shall not project beyond the main front wall of the principal building, or where a front porch is provided, the garage may project no more than 1 meters beyond the main front wall. Therefore, the applicant has requested an exemption to this section for the remaining 26 lots in Phase 2A and 2B. So just to reiterate, the proposed models as stated match the existing architecture on both streets, and they also meet the architectural control guidelines, which also regulate the homes for Phase 2A and 2B. The applicant's planner will speak more to the designs. The garage projections are relatively modest, mostly 1 to 2 meters, and large front porches are proposed. Phase 3 of the development, as I mentioned, which is the future phase, is required to not have any projections on the garages. The new architectural control guidelines are also required for this phase. So again, just to provide context, the area in green is Phase 3 of San Diego 2 development, which consists currently of 466 residential units, including single detached, on-street townhouses, and there's also a future mixed block on the 7th line. And this is the area west of Webster Boulevard, as you can see, and south of the 7th line. So this entire area in green would have to meet the garage projection restrictions. Phase 1 to the north is grandfathered, and this application again relates to the 26 unbuilt lots in Phase 2A and 2B. Private Court 1, which is this piece here, or San Diego 1, sorry, in the center, it's hard to see there, it was also grandfathered and was mostly completed at the time of the changes to the zoning bylaw. And again, these two subdivisions were draft approved in 1996 for Private Court 1 and 2003 for San Diego 2, and they were registered at various phases, so this subdivision is a long build-out history. So in terms of written comments, no written comments have been received by public or agencies. The applicant will make a presentation next, but staff recommend that council approve the zoning bylaw amendment this evening if there are no objections from council or the public to allow the permit issuance of similar models on the street to continue. Alternatively, if there are concerns, staff will consider comments and report back to council with a revised recommendation at a subsequent meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Next, we'll hear from Christine Loft from Loft Planning Incorporated, representing the applicant, who will provide further details on the application. Welcome, and whenever you're ready, Ms. Loft.
Thank you. So I'm just going to, good evening. My name is Christine Loft, and I'm representing San Diego Homes. I am going to skip through a little bit, just so that I'm not repeating anything that Stephen, am I using this? Or am I using this? Off, okay. Perfect, that would help. Thank you. So I think Stephen's certainly covered off what the request is. In terms of the registrations and timing, certainly Phase 2 and Phase 3 were well underway, and the architectural plans were being completed, and the exemptions that were requested at the time of the developers was requesting exemptions based on approvals, registered plans, and at that time these two phases were draft approved but were not registered. So it really relates more to timing of those exemption requests. Rather than sort of these being a separate entity. So I'll just skip forward, and I think Stephen's covered off well the lots that we're requesting the exemption for. I'm just going to provide a couple of the grading plan examples, as well as some photographs to sort of better describe what the request is. So this is an example of one of the plans that's actually under construction now. It's the Oxford plan. It's approximately 1,460 square feet in size. This does meet the zoning requirements. It meets the 6.5 meter front yard setback. It does include the covered porch, and you can see in the red circle is the porch area and where the exemption request is required. This is approximately a 2 meter projection from the front door to the garage front face, which is providing for the size of porch that you can see before you. This also does meet the lot coverage at about 39%, where 45% is required, so you can, or permitted, so you can certainly see that regardless of the extension, all of the setbacks are still met, including the front yard and the lot coverage. And to go into some existing houses, so these are existing houses on Quarry Drive, which each show the show of the projection in terms of the front door, the porch area, and then the front face of the garage. So I've just provided quite a few. They're all similar. The ranges are all between 1.8 and 2.7 meter projections, where the bylaw permits 1. So you can certainly see the difference that provides. So these are all existing homes and showing the porches. And these are existing houses that are not San Diego homes that have met the current bylaws. So the difference, and I'll just flip back for a minute, the San Diego homes and with the projections actually are providing a front porch area, and then looking at the newer homes that do meet the current bylaws where there are porticos more so than full front porches. And so there's just a variety of homes here, all showing what the current bylaws are promoting. And these are just additional photos. And so just in conclusion, these lots actually exceed the provisions of the bylaw in terms of lot frontages and lot areas. The front yard setbacks are met. The proposed models are all single detached dwellings with attached garages, covered porches that are creating usable outdoor space, creating a sense of community along the streetscape. These are 80% bungalows. There are about 30 designs that fit on all of these lots, and so this exemption allows for the continuity and consistency with the remainder of the build-out of this Phase 2B primarily, and the one lot in Phase 2A. And you can see the front porches all include columns and railings, additional architectural designs, and as I've indicated, 1.8 to a 2.7 meter projection. So this amendment would allow for this final phase of the development to be built that would be consistent with the homes that have already been built in 2A. And the amendment would promote consistency and cohesiveness as it relates to the architectural guidelines and the style of the units, and that the front porch is providing a usable outdoor amenity space. And I think anyone that's driven up the street can see that it certainly promotes community and provides a usable outdoor space for its owners. Those are my comments. We did provide a review of the policy as part of the submission, and so we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Loft. We'll now hear from those who have any questions regarding the proposed applications. We'll hear first from the public and then from council. I would ask that each person addressing council please come forward and use the microphone and state your name for the record. Is there anyone who has any questions, concerns, or comments regarding the proposal? I'll ask again. Is there anyone who has any concerns or questions? Seeing none, council, is there any questions? Councillor Asadi.
Thank you, Your Worship. A question to planning. The zoning projection, when you look at the report and you hear about garages projecting out from a building, you think of ones where the whole garage is extended out in a driveway. But I'm wondering why in the zoning bylaw it could not be an option to developers, because for homes that are developed like this, the front porches and underneath the front porch is a part of the house. So it's still a part of the basement extended. It's not an empty space. It's a cold storage, cantina storage, which is very popular. The porches are something that people are attracted to. They like bungalows. And if it was, as long as the inclusion of a completed basement space was under that porch, that's part of the house, or the option to a developer to have the portico, can that not be in part of that zoning? Because I don't see that as a garage projecting beyond the house, because that porch has part of the basement to it. Can you respond to that, please?
I'm going to ask Mr. Scarrett too, but before that's up to us, right? You know, those were decisions that we made, or I guess the former council made, but Mr. Scarrett.
Through your worship, to answer Councillor Sadi's question. Yeah, you bring up some very good points there about the dynamics of the zoning bylaw and some of those design intricacies that we all fight with sometimes from developer to developer. And within the zoning document, there's a number of developments throughout the town that have asked for exemptions, specifically like this developer for garage projections. And we do recognize that there is development changes and the market changes over time. And with this specific developer, we see that they've designed homes in a manner that project a very big porch that really hides that garage, so you don't really see that garage projection. That's how staff are in support of this application tonight. But as we've just passed our official plan late last year, we'll be looking at a new zoning bylaw coming out in the near future, which will be gathering information to make those necessary changes. And I think some of these site exemptions and design intricacies will form part of that bylaw in the near future.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you very much. So that's certainly something that I'll look forward to that discussion in future, because I think that we need to be flexible as long as it's not extending way beyond, and it does cover that. So I'll be looking forward to that. I think the homes in San Diego subdivision, they're very attractive. You don't think of the garage as extending beyond. As staff have put in their report, it was a zoning oversight, so it's not a developer that is trying to do something with an exception to the rule. And I think that these phases, in looking at the report, were registered 2A and B in 2015, 2017. There are 26 homes in partial construction to complete the phase. And again, I don't think that the zoning oversight should be at the expense of the developer who filed and received prior approval for the registered application. San Diego Homes we have a good working relationship with both staff and with San Diego Homes in the town, and I'm in support of approving the zoning amendment to allow the completion of the 26 homes.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? Councillor Waters.
I probably agree with what Councillor Sadi is saying. I think porches on the front are a really nice amenity to have, because it drags people from their backyard on their decks to the front, where they can start, having those community conversations, waving at people go by. I know when we built our house, that's what we did, and we spent most of our time on the porch. So I think these types of projections are highly acceptable in a development. Much better than past projections where the entire garage is out front. But I think these ones add that opportunity to add a veranda to the front. And I agree with you that it's a desirable feature to have. And so for future opportunities, I think we may want to reconsider that planning opportunity. Thank you.
Councillor Fowler.
I took a tour earlier today through the neighborhood. I believe that neighborhood is designed overall to be consistent throughout, to give just a consistency in from home to home. And from what I saw, the neighborhood is very welcoming, and I like it the way it is. I couldn't see it changing halfway through, it'd throw the whole dynamic off, so I don't see a reason to deny him this amendment.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I just want to say that I believe that San Diego Homes is up for another award, design award, coming up this year. So wishing you luck in that. And hearing no concerns regarding the proposed bylaw, please be advised that the proposed amendment to the zoning bylaw will be considered by council this evening under item 4.4 of the special council agenda. If for any reason that the bylaw is not fully considered this evening and you wish to be contacted before further consideration, please fill out the notification form located at the entrance of the council chambers. Anyone wishing to be contacted about when this matter will be considered by council are asked to fill out the notification form located at the entrance of the council chamber. And council thanks everyone for their participation in the public meeting. And now I'd like to ask for a mover and a seconder for item 4.4 is Councillor Nicol and Councillor Payne. Any further comments on the recommendation? Hearing none, all in favor? Is there any contrary? That's carried unanimously. And the next item is a confirming bylaw. Could I have a mover and a seconder for a confirming bylaw? Councillor Fowler, Councillor Asadi. All those in favor? That's carried. And finally, adjournment. Mover, Councillor Nicol, Councillor Fowler. All those in favor? That's carried. Thanks, everybody, and we're done early tonight, so please enjoy the rest of your evening.